PHLY postgame show. Presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And what a game! 28-23. The Eagles looked like they were running away with this one. And then a questionable call and then some questionable decision-making makes this extremely tight at the end before Nakobe Dean seals it with a game-winning interception in the end zone. We will remember this game for the Saquon Barkley backwards leap, the DeVonta Smith amazing catch, and almost losing a game that they had no business losing. We're going to talk about all of it, joined by Super Bowl champion Vinny Curry, Jamie Lynch, and Fran Duffy. I am Bo Wulf. We'll be joined in a little bit by Zach Berman live from the LINC, who will talk to the umpires, the referees after this game as the pool reporter. So he's going to have some very interesting insight that you are going to want to hear. We're going to get Nick Sirianni's press conference, all of that. But it starts, Vinny, with Nakobe Dean making the play of the game.
Man, my blood pressure was getting up. And Nakobe Dean with the clutch interception, and then the leap into the crowd. I love it. I love the energy. I love the play. That's how you close out a game, man. Congratulations to him.
I mean, the Eagles are up 5 points. The Jags have the ball at the 13-yard line, 1st and 10. With a minute 40 left, they have all kinds of time. And Trevor Lawrence throws it up there, a 50-50 ball. Nakobe making the play. He wanted it more.
Oh, my God. It was clutch, man. Dramatic
what do you
fashion.
think he feels like right now?
Oh, he on top of the world right now, as he should be. As he should be. He deserved that one. He wanted it more, and he came down with it, and we got the win. And that's how you close out a game. I'm like fired up. You see, I was at the edge of my seat like, and then when he came down with it, I'm making sure there's no flags. I want to say, the whole stadium was looking around, making sure there wasn't no flags. Man.
There were some tight asses in that stadium, man. Some of the faces in the stands. People did not look well.
How's your blood pressure, Jamie?
I never once doubted anything in this game. I just felt completely in control the whole time. Feet were up, unstressed. No, that was excruciating. It was like one of those things when it first happened, when the fumble and all that stuff gets returned. It's like you're kind of laughing to stop from crying because you're like, I can't believe what I'm watching. And then you start questioning, the decision to go for 2 earlier, when then it becomes a 2-possession game, and then you start like thinking ahead, worst case scenarios. Next thing you're like, oh my God, they're going to tie this up here. So that was excruciating.
Yeah, I mean, when it was like early third quarter, Eagles are up 22-0. We're thinking, okay, there's not really going to be too much to talk about from this game. The Saquon jump. We can talk about Shady and reflect on his career, which I think we will do at the end. But then all of this stuff happens, and now there is so much to unpack, Fran. I'm curious from your vantage point, what do you attribute the almost loss of this game to? What was the turning point for you in that third quarter?
I mean, certainly the turning point was the Saquon Barkley fumble that was returned for a touchdown, because, just looking possession by possession, I made the point. I was like, look, when Jacksonville last got the ball, they were down 22-0, and then they get the ball back with a chance to tie the game up. It was just an insane turn of events over the course of 2 or 3 possessions. And look, we'll get into the call. We'll get into some of the plays. But this is just a weird game. I mean, even just looking back through the stats before we went live, I mean, Trevor Lawrence, 50% completion, 2 picks. You look at offensively with the run game. I mean, their leading rusher had 24 yards. They weren't doing anything offensively that they made some critical plays on third down. They were able to get some chunk plays. But even offensively, I mean, Jalen Hurts completes 75% of his passes, a couple of touchdowns, doesn't turn it over. Saquon goes off, nearly 200 yards, total yards for Saquon Barkley in this game. DeVonta Smith goes off. We saw 2 of the biggest plays of the year, but they still, I mean, just nearly lose this football game. It's a crazy game.
Also, A.J. Brown leaves this game with a knee injury and does not return, and he left without playing a snap in the third quarter.
Don't even remind
me.
Very
much on our radar and potentially a big concern. What did you guys think of the call on the Saquon fumble?
I thought he was down by contact. That it looked like the back of the Achilles or the heel area. I thought he was down by contact.
A little touch on the back of the foot, and then he trips over Landon Dickerson and sort of stumbles to the ground. Right. The ball comes loose. And Zach is going to have some real insight on this, because I imagine this is what he's going to talk to the referees about.
Yeah.
I can see why it wasn't overturned, because it's not like he's the little touch makes him go down. And if you're thinking that it's the trip that makes him go down, it's like it's not a continuation thing. I can see why after it was ruled the way it was on the field, it wasn't overturned. I could sort of go either way. I don't think that was like the most outrageous call as some Eagles fans do.
But, you know, like when you go down that way, you're kind of giving yourself up as well. So
That's true.
That's the way I thought it was going to be called. That ball hit the ground, then popped up in his hand. So
Yeah.
that was kind of weird to me. It was clearly contact. Like I listen. Hey, maybe the refs, you know, wanted to stay out there a little longer. But you know, whew.
I think that's the problem. Like live, I'm with you. I'm going like, okay, like he actually tripped over his offensive lineman more than was tackled.
I mean, like on a normal play, is Saquon Barkley getting tackled by that little touch?
Yeah, somebody in our Discord channel here at PHLY said like, well, if he gets up and runs for a touchdown, that becomes an automatic review play. Do they call that back on the inverse of that? I would tend to doubt it, but like no way to know. It's an impossible situation. I think the problem is reviewing it, seeing the hand bounce off the arm, like the clear reaction, and then sticking with the call.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised. I mean, I thought it was a fumble. So look, it's a weird call.
It is weird.
But to me, like it's like the N1 in the NBA where it's like, the continuation, and it looked like he made that like football move, like when he put his foot in the ground and got north south. So it was just an unfortunate play.
Let us know how you guys are feeling in the chat. All kinds of super chats. Everybody very fired up about this game.
I can tell you, I haven't read much of the chat yet. I'm about to hop in there, but I can tell you by the tone of some text messages that I've gotten. The last one I just got was, can Nick Sirianni still be fired after a W? So I think the tone out there is feisty still.
The C was angry today.
Like an old man returning soup at a W.
We got a lot to get to, and we will hear.
If I'm Nick, though, man, I'm taking Nakobe out for dinner.
DeVonta, get DeVonta in there too.
Hey, listen, get what y'all want. You know, that one right there was crazy.
Yeah, take out the family. This one's on me, Nakobe. That's absolutely right. On Nick, and we will hopefully hear from him soon. Several big decisions here. Now, there's a 2-point conversion. He takes one off the board to go to the one. Unsuccessful tush push. Happens again. My biggest gripe with Sirianni in this game was the 4th and inches in the fourth quarter when they go to that play action play to Saquon Barkley, the one that he dropped in the Falcons game to lose that game, and Eschew's going for a field goal that would have made it a 2-possession game. To me, I mean, I know that they got stopped on 2 tush pushes in this game already, but 4th and inches, like, let's do that.
Yes.
I find it very hard to believe that they would not have gotten that. And if you don't trust it, then just kick the field goal.
Right.
Yeah. So my order that if I'm coaching, I go field goal 1 because it makes it a two-score game. I think that, and then 2, if you're gonna run a play.
Like, what's the whole point of the tush push?
Yeah, like just do it.
What are we doing?
Get you inches.
Yeah, like to me, I kicked the field goal there. Dan Orlovsky, I saw a tweet that nobody leaves more points on the field than Nick Sirianni in the NFL. He has a point. Like, this is a theme.
And it's interesting
season.
because even early in this game, it seemed like the Eagles were a little bit scared of the tush push. They started in this game, remember, doing that play where they send DeVonta into motion, and then they run it to the left instead of the normal tush push. Got called for a false start. Then they went back to it later in the game. I don't know if there's like something about the Jags defense that had them concerned.
Maybe it's the institutional knowledge that Doug Pederson has, from it, and just give it some insight there. But I do think clearly that was on their minds in this game. You get stopped twice on those 2-point attempts, and you tried to fake it twice, and then you decide not to do it later. Clearly, they were a little tepid going into it.
Now, Vinny, from a defensive player standpoint, when a game that you feel like is won, and all of a sudden you're like in the guts of the game there at the end, and you got to make a red zone stand to win the game, like what's going through your mind?
Dang.
How did we get here?
Exactly. Like how did we get here? But you know, when you take your foot off the gas a little bit, you know how it is, man. NFL game is any given Sunday. Every play counts. Can't take your foot off the gas, bro. And that's what I thought we did a little bit. We took our foot off the gas. We started shooting ourselves in the foot. And Doug, a good coach like that, he started capitalizing off it, especially when his offense wasn't doing nothing all game. That was just too close for, my blood pressure getting raising up and everything. But Nakobe Dean, man.
Yeah, I mean, what a play. And
Hey, when's the last time an Eagles game had two linebacker interceptions? Has that ever happened before?
That's a good question.
I mean, I'm sure it probably has, but that's unheard of, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Like linebacker interceptions, the first one I can think of is Kaiser White from the Week 1 game in 2022 on Brad, or he tips it and then Bradbury gets it. So
he tipped it and Bradbury
him,
got it. Yeah, TJ Edwards had a couple. But I'm trying to think of who was his running mate.
Thank you, Trevor Lawrence, for throwing a terrible ball there.
Yeah.
I mean, the Eagles outgained the Jags in this game 447 to 215. They more than doubled them up. This game should not have been so close.
Right. And if you go back to what we talked about earlier in the week, you talk about what I thought about Trevor Lawrence and how we should play him. We knew he was a deep setter. We knew he tried to spin out of things, and I thought the Eagles had a great game plan for him. I thought they really caged him in a little bit.
Now, as you mentioned, Fran, Saquon Barkley in this game, 27 carries for 159 yards and a touchdown. Also, 3 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown. And including even with the touchdown, the more memorable play, Vinny, you were in the stadium, so was I for that first half. What were you thinking when Saquon just leaps over a guy ass first?
So we're in that box, and y'all know what I started yelling. Saquon! That boy, he's the truth, man. He's the truth. You have to admit, when it comes to free agency signings, he has to be one of the greatest free agent signings in Eagle history. So it's just man, he is must-see TV.
Yeah, Tim McManus tweeted out, Saquon Barkley is just the second player in Eagles history to record 1,000+ scrimmage yards and 8+ touchdowns through 8 games since LeSean McCoy on Shady McCoy night.
Nice.
So, pretty cool.
Very
How can
cool.
you not be romantic
Shady goes
about
into
football?
the Hall of Fame, and we'll get to him. Yes, and also, if you feel the same way about Saquon that Vinny does, well, go ahead and get yourself a Saquon T-shirt at the PHLY locker. Join the club. Show your love. I mean, Vinny's moving merch over here.
You got to get it, man. You got to get it. Saquon. Because we're going to be Saquon and all the way to the playoffs, man. And
he's unbelievable. What did you think about that play? What did you guys do here when you were watching it?
We went nuts. I mean, it was just unbelievable. Because not only we've never seen anybody do the ass first leap over a guy, right?
A very smart play, because even if it doesn't work, you're just putting your butt in the guy's face. But that's going to be a tough loss.
But what's amazing about it is that, look at the video. That's the third athletic cut he makes on that. He does the jump cut, a spin move, and then does that move,
which leads to 4 more extra yards.
Unbelievably athletic play. And he's had a few of those this year where it's I can't believe, I don't know how he got out of that. But this one takes the cake.
It's the greatest 14-yard play in NFL history.
Gotta be.
Yeah, I think that might be right. Now, if we're gonna be fair, we should also say, he does lose that fumble, whether we think it was a fumble or not.
Yep,
he does lose that, and then on the Eagles' last offensive possession, sort of goes down in bounds early on the 3rd down play when there was a chance for him to fight for the first down. Felt like he didn't have exactly the perfect situational awareness of where he was and what the situation was.
Yeah, and I texted Zach right away, if you get a chance to talk to Saquon, is that something you're taught there in that situation, or was that something you took control of yourself? Because that's at least the 3rd, if not the 4th kind of low IQ move he's made this year. I hate to be a thorn here because he's a freak. He's the fastest kid alive, all that.
Arguably the best player on the team.
Yeah, phenomenal. But he situationally has made some dumb decisions.
I like the point that Chris, our social media maven, said. He's not used to being on winning teams in close games.
Man, I think he should be, he'd be running so fast, and I think he thought he had the first down.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah,
he had the first down. He sat down, to chew more clock. I think that's what he probably was thinking.
I think you're right. All right, still waiting on Nick Sirianni, and so much to get to here. Now, if we're talking about those fantastic plays, the DeVonta Smith touchdown catch.
That was crazy.
I don't know if I've seen a better catch than that. That was
Wilson,
insane.
hold my beer.
That was insane, and a huge play in the game.
Huge play. This is, from Next Gen Stats. This might shock you. Jalen Hurts completed a career-high 4 deep passes, 20-plus air yards in this game today.
It's the thing he does best.
For
without
127 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's the most deep throws that he's connected on in one game, according to Next Gen.
That is surprising.
Tweeted out 4 minutes ago. And certainly that one was a big one. 25 yards on 3rd and long. I mean, it was essentially a double move. He's working inside against Darby and then kind of breaks outside, gets on top of him. And his ability to get both of his feet down while maintaining possession, going to the ground. I mean, that's one of the catches of the year in the NFL. Outstanding finish there from DeVonta Smith.
The Slim Reaper.
I mean, I've never seen anything like that play.
Insane. Unbelievable play. And he had the 46-yard earlier, too.
Yeah, to one-hand it and control it while getting the feet down. I mean, we talk about it all the time that the thing that makes DeVonta superhuman is he has this awareness of space, I think, better than anybody I've ever seen at that position. And sometimes that comes to play in the middle of the field.
Yep.
But along the sideline and at the back of the end zone, I mean, he's unbelievable. And then also to make the play and the importance of the play in the game when they're fighting to ward off this, what would have been a terrible loss. I mean, unbelievable.
Man.
Yeah, and
Nick's going to have to pay for a lot of dinners tonight.
Man, I'm telling you.
DeVonta, Saquon, and Nakobe. I mean,
DeVonta can't eat very much, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
he's probably a cheap date. He's a Slim Reaper, man. He's like 145 pounds. Jahan Dotson, too, not to take shine away from DeVonta. Another phenomenal catch by Jahan Dotson. Hello. That was a great catch,
now
too.
Now that Jalen has seen it, he can believe in it.
Go ahead, Vinny.
I'm sorry. So, yeah, I was just saying, we're just sitting here thinking about, some of the guys that jumped out while we're watching live. Man, they got to read my man up, man, Zach.
Zach Baun.
He was ferocious in this game.
Lock him in.
Starting from the first
play of
defensive
the game.
possession.
Man,
yeah, he was all over
like
the place.
A man on fire.
He finished with 10 tackles. He had the pick. He delivered hits on Trevor Lawrence. He's making plays downhill against the screen, against the run. He had the leaping PBU against Evan Ingram on the first play of the game. I mean, start to finish, Zach Baun was outstanding in this football game.
I think we probably will see an in-season extension for Zach Baun. Yeah.
He deserves it.
He certainly deserves it.
He definitely deserves it.
Yeah, fantastic.
Great linebacker play, man, today. Great linebacker.
Nakobe with that play. Have we flashed up the Nakobe actual interception? We can. Oh, we have seen it. Okay. I mean, what a play. What did you think of that decision from Lawrence?
I mean, the decision was fine. The play from Nakobe is outstanding. What I love most about the play, outside of the finish, it was an outstanding catch by Nakobe. Several times in the game, the Jaguars ran what's called a Texas route, where the running back out of the backfield will work to the outside, and you think Darren Sproles putting his foot in the ground and working back towards the middle of the field. And so on this play, it would have been very easy for Nakobe Dean to think that, hey, this is going to be a route back towards the middle and overplay it and then lose leverage outside towards the sideline. But he stays on top of this, plays it perfectly. Trevor Lawrence delivers a bad ball inside. If he throws it to the back shoulder for Dearness Johnson, it's going to be a much more catchable pass, and it might be a touchdown. But Nakobe stays on top of it and is able to make the play. He's locked up one-on-one in this scenario. And you saw Jacksonville ran that motion right before where you see they bumped the running back out just to make sure that it's going to be man coverage. And you get it's an isolated situation, one-on-one, and Nakobe makes the play. Just a big-time play. And honestly, I can't help but smile when you see a young guy make his first big play in a game like that in the NFL. And so, look, this is year 3 for Nakobe. It was a redshirt year in year 1. He was hurt most of last year. So he's had his moments this year, but this is his first signature play. I'm just really happy for him. Certainly, it's awesome.
And it happens on a walk-off.
Yeah, awesome.
It's like a walk-off at the buzzer. At the buzzer.
I mean, the energy rush he's not going to be coming down for days from that.
He better than me. I probably threw my helmet up in the air all the time. Wow, man. Yeah, man. Yo. Kobe.
Unbelievable. Do we have Sirianni, Andrew? Okay. All right, we'll wait on that. Well, in that case, let's take a little break to hear from our sponsors. All right. Rite Aid. Don't miss the big game or Thanksgiving. Get your flu shot at Rite Aid. While at the pharmacy, get the latest COVID-19 vaccine as well and stay up to date on others. You can even ask your pharmacist for a vaccine review or recommendations. The CDC recommends getting a flu shot every year. A person's immune protection from vaccination declines over time, so help protect yourself against the flu by getting your annual flu shot at Rite Aid. According to the CDC, flu vaccination may reduce a child's risk of severe life-threatening influenza by 75%. Help protect your family by getting flu shots at Rite Aid today. And while at the pharmacy, stock up on cough, cold, flu, and allergy essentials. Rite Aid has what you need to get you through the season. And who knows, maybe this is your last chance. Just walk into your local Rite Aid or schedule at riteaid.com. State, age, and health restrictions apply. Ask your Rite Aid pharmacist for details.
And let me tell you about our friends over at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. If you haven't joined a credit union, you should look into it because there's so many benefits of joining a credit union. You feel as though you have somebody in your corner. And TrueMark Financial is located right here in Fort Washington, and they have 24 area locations all across the Delaware Valley. And something I wish I had TrueMark a couple of years ago, I redid the kitchen at the house, took out a HELOC, another bank, and they just kind of, gave me all the rigmarole and run around. I didn't really feel educated or enlightened on the process, but the people from TrueMark can help you talk about those HELOC loans and preserve your savings and get access to the funds as you need for big renovations, whether it be education expenses or just flat out emergencies, because they always pop up. So use TrueMark's financial budgeting tools to save for special purchases like limited edition merchandise. Regular contributions can accumulate over time and help you reach your saving goals effectively. Transferring as little as $5 a week can give you $260, more than enough for that beautiful Kelly Green jersey. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA and is an equal opportunity lender. For more information, visit truemark.com/PHLY.
Vinny, the people want to know what you think of the D-line play in this game. And I will say, just to start, Bryce Huff, for what it's worth, played like 2 snaps in this game.
Like no football?
Now the Eagles start in nickel. Nolan Smith gets the start on the outside. Bryce Huff, not a major factor here. They didn't play a ton of plays on defense, so they didn't have a lot of long drives to rotate in, but he was not a major factor. Aside from that, what did you make of the D-line play?
I thought the D-line did exactly what we talked about earlier this week, how to contain Trevor Lawrence, and I thought they did a great job at stopping the run. The first half, I thought, they did a phenomenal job. Like you said, they didn't have too many plays on defense. And then in that second half, as we can see, they all played together collectively. We end up recording 2 sacks.
Yep.
Recording 2 sacks. One, we're going to break down later on the first Josh Huff sack, but the second one was just as clutch. But then, we gave him a first down right after that. That would have been a great one to walk off with, but I thought they did well. I thought they did their job. I thought they executed the game plan very well.
Sweaty sacks.
2 of them.
Two of them.
Yeah, Milton makes the big play on the first one, and then the other one later. And to your point, like the Jags didn't really have a lot of opportunities to run the ball in this game, but ETN and Bigsby combined for 11 carries for 46 yards. So like efficiency-wise, not amazing, but I mean total volume-wise, obviously they shut it down.
Right. So anytime you could hold a team from under 100 yards rushing, that's you hang your hard hat on that. That trophy don't matter, what happened. So I thought the defense played well, like I said, and like you said, throughout the whole game, they shut him out for 0 points, and they still shut him out even with the Saquon fumble turned into a touchdown. The defense, I thought they played well.
Yeah, I mean the first 6 Jaguars possessions, 6 plays and a punt, 3 and out.
Yep.
4 and out. 3 and out. Interception on the first play, and then 3 and out on the first drive of the second half. That's not including the kneel down at the end of the first half. I mean, that is as dominant a start to a game as you can have.
Absolutely, man. Vic got these guys playing like lights out, man. Look, there's one person that deserves some credit, because the last couple of weeks these guys has been playing, playoff type of football, the football that we all love, and they've been playing crazy. So.
Yeah, I think Vic out of the bye, like the team's not missing tackles anymore. They seem to be playing more confident football. Jalen Carter, I noticed today, was getting double teamed a bunch.
Yes.
So he had the respect from the Jaguars.
Right.
So maybe that allows, Josh Sweat, and maybe you and Fran can get into that in the breakdown. But I thought Jalen Carter had a nice game for a guy that was getting doubled. Look, I'm not charting the game like Fran over here, but it seemed to me, my naked eye, like he got doubled a good amount today.
Couple interesting things on defense, Fran. end of the game, like they need to win this game. They need to go get it. This is like these are the best guys we want on the field to rush the passer. Interesting that Moro Ajema was the defensive tackle next to Jalen Carter and not Milton Williams.
Yeah, I mean, go back to Atlanta. That was what they did on that final drive against the Falcons. Moro Ajema was out there, and we made a point that we didn't see Bryce Huff in that situation. And I thought it was more notable that Ajema, the second-year defensive tackle, was out there as well.
It was BG
next to Jalen Carter.
Nolan Smith. Yes.
Exactly. And so I think when you look at the faith that this team has in him, I know it hasn't shown up with like sack production so far for Ajema, but he's been really, really disruptive. He has flashed every single week, whether it's going up against the quarterback as a pass rusher or stopping the run. And so I'm not shocked to see that. Let me ask you this, Bo, with the Huff stuff. Do you think it's because they might be looking to shop him?
I was going to bring that up. It seems very reasonable to me. Now, it would be, that would be an early admission of mistake from Howie Roseman. But if they can swap him out for somebody else, and maybe they think that Jalix Hunt can be on the come a little bit. Now, if that was the case, I think we would have seen him today. But I don't know what the actual cap ramifications are of trading Huff at this point.
Right.
So they have a potential out in 2026. So they're basically only on the books for 2 years, 34. There is a 22.1 dead cap hit there. So to your point, I don't know, but like that's...
Now, it's interesting because he plays one snap in the first half. He comes in on the 3rd and 6, and it's like a loop inside, and he almost gets the sack. So, like, my opinion with Bryce Huff has been that they don't need him to be an every down player. Like the idea that he's not a first and second down player who can stop the run, that's fine if he's giving you the third down pass rush specialist productivity, and so far he has not been.
$17 million too much money to pay to a third down specialist.
I think that's fine though. Like I think you would pay for that,
right?
If you were getting that production on third down, but you're not.
Was it the Giants game where he had like the 5 pressures and we're like, all right, like it looks like he might be back. Last week was not good. The film with Huff last week again in the win against Cincinnati was not very good. So I'm not shocked that the snap. I don't know if they're shocked.
I think a little bit of it was the flow of this game. They didn't have any long drives early in this game to
and how
even
much
rotate.
of it is maybe Nolan Smith earning it?
Yeah, I mean,
just straight up outperforming them.
He had a sack in 3 straight games. Coming into this game.
He looked like he turned the corner.
He getting it out the mud right now. We all know how. If we watching our show, we know how Vinny Curry feels about Nolan Smith.
Yep.
He's definitely one of my favorites on that defense.
So the deadline is Tuesday. Yeah. We'll see. I don't think they would trade him without getting somebody else back.
I agree.
Right. I think they need somebody else.
That's why, whenever we've talked about, could they trade for a pass rusher? Unless it was going to be one of the big guys, it wouldn't make sense because they just don't have the, they don't have the room for that guy right now. But if you were to move on from Huff, then you would have that spot for someone to slide in.
What did you guys think of Isaiah Rodgers today, starting for Darius Slay on the outside?
I thought he did a good job.
Yeah.
I thought he stepped up big time. I thought he did a good job.
Yeah, I didn't really recall Quinion or his name being called or targeted much.
There was the 16-yarder to Brian Thomas on third down late.
Where
he gave up too much cushion there, but then he came
fourth quarter.
Yeah, fourth quarter. Yeah. He came back late and he had. That was outstanding coverage on that one on the final drive.
Unbelievable.
That was outstanding. Yeah. So there was some good and some bad, but that'll be one I'm excited to go back and see what that looks like on film.
They did just seem kind of like a faster defense today. I'm not putting this all on Slay and saying but they did, and maybe it's part the Jaguars just stink, but they did seem like they were swarming and buzzing and like they had like a real pulse to them defensively, at least for the before those weird turnovers and such.
And then I think if there was a weakness in the secondary today, I think C.J. Gardner-Johnson was responsible for a couple big plays.
He just has not had a good start to the season, and we're past start to the season. We're halfway through the season. He has not been great through the first half. We haven't gotten the big plays, certainly the turnovers that we saw from him so often in 2022. Certainly, he's made some plays coming downhill. There was a run stop against New Orleans. There was a run stop against Atlanta. But we're talking week 2, week 3. To me, they're not getting enough from number 8 right now. I think in the secondary, Quignon's been awesome. Slay has been really good when he's been healthy. Obviously, we've seen what Cooper DeJean has done. He flashed again today in this game, especially in high leverage situations. Blankenship has come up in some spots. I don't think they're getting enough right now from Gardner-Johnson. And even, we were talking about it earlier, Jamie, when talking about Sidney Brown, and he makes that great play on special teams, outstanding play on special teams. But, you were saying what's his role on defense? because of the money that you're giving to
Sure.
CJ, I don't know that you could sit him, but to me, they're not getting their money's worth out of CJ Gardner-Johnson right now.
Yeah, Sidney Brown, I think deserves a ton of credit for that kind of like
Changed the game.
it really did change the game. Like it kind
Poor
of
guy thought he was in for a dinner from Sirianni until everybody else sort of went up to him. Yeah.
Sidney's like, wait, I'm the rookie here. Can I please?
Yeah, that
Actually,
changed the
Nakobe
game.
too.
Man, we was there at in the stadium.
That was
you
awesome.
could just see their whole sideline go from like, yeah. So, yeah, that changed the game. That was a big play.
We have not even spoken yet about the quarterback for the Eagles in this game. Jalen Hurts goes 18 of 24 for 230 yards and 2 touchdowns, 16 carries for 67 yards and a touchdown. I'll start with you, Fran. What did you make of Jalen Hurts' performance today?
Yeah, I thought that clearly very efficient. I mean, 75% of his passes didn't turn the ball over again, so you like that.
Yeah.
I thought that there was probably too many scrambles for my liking.
In the first half, there were a few plays where it seemed like the ball had to be out.
Yeah,
and then he
but
invited the pressure.
They made a comment on the broadcast without showing us visual evidence
That
of it.
broadcast stunk.
Yeah, the broadcast was brutal. But I think that so often they talked about, hey, they're changing up their coverages, and I thought McCourty brought up some good points there. And but they didn't show it to us, so I'll just have to wait to watch it tomorrow. But to me, if they were dropping back and hey, they're showing man, but they're dropping out in cover 2, that would explain some of it. So I want to kind of reserve judgment until then. That sack, the one sack he took on 3rd down was a brutal sack. But they were still in field goal range. They still were able to capitalize.
That one, I think you can take that sack. I mean, if what you want to see is not there,
exactly.
That's a time when you can take a sack.
So that is, so that's one of those things where it's like I kind of want to watch it back to get a better feel. But I mean, overall, look, some of the throws that he made down the field certainly were big time in this.
Well,
game.
I've shifted my how I want the Eagles offense to go now. My offensive philosophy has completely changed. Nothing below 20 yards for Jalen Hurts. The only ball he should throw is anything 25 yards or more downfield. Because he throws I almost cursed.
Ball,
it's the best thing he does. Like I think you can't even debate that anymore. He throws a beautiful.
It's just
deep ball.
like the mechanics of it for him.
There's like a real
he's so lower body focused, right? And so if he's able to to get his shoulders into it and plant his feet, it's the most beautiful thing.
He's going to be a nasty golfer when Mr. Laurie lets him play.
He's not going to be a nasty golfer. He's very bad.
I can say that with authority.
Let me ask you this though: do you think it's because his interior guys is 6'5"?
The pocket again was pretty good again today. The pressures that he did feel, it wasn't like quick pressures. So this is now the 4th week in a row where that's been the case.
All right, let's go to Nick Sirianni, who we have now from the LINC.
Oh boy,
took him a long time. I wonder why that is.
Nakobe was up there, so maybe they were going to him a little
first.
shine. Yeah.
2-point conversions. You went for a couple 4th downs. I'm curious, how do you balance wanting to be aggressive with maybe looking at the results, like you weren't converting them?
Yeah, we've done pretty good at those in the past. And so you always think about everything. You think about who you have. You think about your past experiences with it. You always look at the analytics of it. We've been pretty good on those. Today they did a good job. And so I'll look at everything. But everything in the moment, I'm always doing what I think is best for the football team. And today it didn't work, but that's the way it goes. That's the hat I have to wear, right? When we get a 4th down and we convert a 4th down, we're not, nothing's really said. When we don't, I understand that there's going to be questions. But again, I have to be able to have the balls to do that, really, at the end of the day, and say, am I doing everything I can do to help us win the game? And then those moments I thought I was, but I'll go back and relook at them. I'm always going to be hypercritical of myself. And when it doesn't work, I'm definitely going to think even more about it. So, I'm just happy with the way the guys played. I thought we played with great fundamentals today. I'll be interested to see what our tackling numbers are coming out of today. But I thought I thought Zack Baun tackled his butt off. I thought Reed had some good tackles. Coop. So I'll look at that. I thought we caught the ball well. I mean, there were some unbelievable catches, both offensively and defensively. With a lot of things that we talk about, we took the ball way well. I'll get some clarification on Saquon's fumble, but I thought we took care of the ball, and Jalen did a great job taking care of the football. I thought our fundamentals that we worked so hard on were really on point today, which helped us get the win today. And it's tough to win.
What do you think Saquon's backwards hurdle?
it was the best play I've ever seen. I had no choice but to give him, like, at the end of the game, I've been given a game ball this year, just like for special plays. Obviously, Nakobe gets one, ends the game with I guess, would you call it a walk-off interception? I guess
that's what Vinny called it.
Yep. Even though you got to take 3 knees after, they should allow you just to go to the next play. But Saquon's play, there's going to be what I think's so cool. There's going to be kids all over the country and all over Philadelphia. I really think about that, trying to make that play and talking about that play and like simulating that play as they play backyard football or pee-wee football. Like, they ain't gonna be able to make it because that play. I think he's the only one in the world that could do that. I thought it was. I'm speechless. Like, it was unbelievable. And the way the crowd, it brought the crowd, and then when I looked up, like, I thought I saw what I saw, and then I looked at, but as a coach, you're looking at the line. Sometimes you're looking at the secondary, you're looking at the defense, and so I thought I saw it, but then when I looked up at the big screen, and the crowd reacted to it, it was unbelievable. I can't say enough, like, how athletic he is.
Aside, is he better than you thought he was now that you have him?
Kids probably shouldn't try that.
We knew how good he was. I mean, we knew he was special. Just when you're preparing to play against special players in this league,
like if you try the other one and you get hit,
they tend to take so much of your time up.
This one, that's fine.
Of you thinking about them and you preparing to stop them. So we knew he was special. I think when you're around him on a daily basis, I think it's safe to say, yes, Jeff, that he's even more special than I could have even imagined. And it's with everything, though. Like, I can't say enough about Saquon, the leader, the worker, the teammate. It was just unbelievable, that play. So I think it's fair to say that he's even more special than I even thought.
We saw AJ leave the field in the third quarter before the offense had gone onto the field. Can you just help explain that sequence there?
Yeah, obviously I'm going to get more information. I haven't met with the medical staff yet, and so I'll get more information here on him. Hope he's okay. He's obviously one of our best players, and we missed him out there. I thought DeVonta did an unbelievable job in his absence. We have 2 go-to guys, and DeVonta, got even more, balls his way, and he made some unreal plays. I heard the catch that he made in the back of the end zone, and then Jahan's catch. My goodness, there were some plays today that will live on in the sports world of Philadelphia for a long time, because they were just great individual plays by these guys. That you can talk about the fundamentals of how you catch things and how you get to your back when you're going to the ground and this and that, but like, man, for him to get his hand on it, that's 2 plays. That's 2 weeks in a row that he's made. That Jalen's made it, put a perfect ball on him, in tight coverage, and that Smitty's made a spectacular play. And so, man, I just thought there were some special plays made. And we haven't even talked about the defense yet. Who's got a defensive question?
Was Bryce Huff healthy? And if so, what went into his limited usage?
Bryce came off the field after walkthroughs. Again, won't talk too much about injuries, but his hand was bothering him, and he was getting treatment in the locker room after not walkthroughs, after warm ups, and so we were trying to protect him there.
When it comes to the linebacker play you've gotten right now out of Zach and out of Nakobe, what are your thoughts about?
You buy that?
Were you expecting this kind of level of play for these 2 when you first came?
I think we've all the moment we drafted Nakobe, I think the excitement was there.
Well,
I remember
right.
coming down with you guys in there, and I was yelling about it, how excited we were. And it's been a long road. He's had to battle. One, he was behind 2 really good players that, when he was a rookie, and he played on special teams, and then last year he had an injury, that sidelined him. And so I think we've all just had a ton of confidence in Nakobe, and he continues to get better. I can't remember if I told you guys this or not, but there's a night that he's in there just grinding. I think one thing that makes Nakobe special is his mind and his leadership, and he's constantly working on that. Like, I'm walking downstairs one evening late, and he's still in there watching tape. And so he's got a special work ethic, which allows him to make special plays like he did today. And then Zack Baun, I think that he's just a really good athlete. And he's really worked on, I know he was a great special teams player for the Saints and did some of the things that we're doing with him now. But then, he's such a good athlete that he gets guys down in the open field. He makes great tackles. He's nice. Now he's taking the ball away, and with special plays. That catch was really good catch. And so the linebackers or the guys that are getting everybody on the same page are in a lot of plays, and I think our guys are doing good, and I think our backups, we got a lot of confidence in them as well, and so it's so much fun when you get to the work that you do in the dark, shows up in the light, and I really see that from those two guys of all the work that they've put in.
You mentioned they got the 2 stops on the 2-point conversions on the 2 sneaks, and then you had a fourth that I think it was like inches. My perspective, inside 1, and you didn't run a sneak on that. Were they doing something?
Yeah, they did.
That sort of made you lose confidence in it.
They did a good job. I mean, anytime you get stuffed on it, you think twice and you try to go a different route. And they got us. I thought they did a good job of it. We're gonna have to do a better job as coaches, helping them succeed. We've worked really hard at that play. That play's been our bread and butter, and it didn't work tonight. And so, what do we do as coaches? That's the first thing we're gonna look. We'll look at the tape, see where we made a mistake, but then, as far as execution, but we're gonna look at ourselves as coaches first and see what we can do to help them out in those scenarios. And again, you always, hindsight, you look through it and you say, shoot, we didn't get it here. Now the third time we did it, obviously we didn't run that play. We tried to get around the outside, and it didn't work. So we'll be hypercritical on ourselves. But good job to Jacksonville for getting that play stop, because not a lot of, to be quite honest with you, not a lot of people have been able to stop that, and they did a good job. And we're going to probably have to be ready to see that again.
2 more, please. 2 rookie defensive backs play at this level as an offensive guy.
This will be our last one for Nick.
How rare is that?
I just go back to how calm and cool that these guys are. And going back to Q, when we watched him at the Senior Bowl, he wanted to, when we watched the tape of the Senior Bowl, he didn't back down to anything, and that's all I've seen. He's just calm. He's confident in himself. He's a really good football player. And then the same thing with Coop. I think Coop has just this competitive energy, and I think they're both energy givers, and they're making a lot of plays, and that's huge, right? And so I think, I look back on a couple of the draft pick, like Will Shipley makes an unbelievable play on special teams today. The draft picks are doing a great job, and then we talk about Zach Baun and what he's done, as far as a free agent. So I just feel like we've added to our team. How he's done a great job of adding to our football team and helping us get better, and that's and so just again pumped for those guys, 33 and 27. Just they're playmakers, and hopefully we get to see them here in Philadelphia for a long time.
We can pull out a Nick. So the big takeaways: no real information on AJ Brown yet. The Bryce Huff thing is interesting. Said his hand started bothering him after warm-ups. I think as you speculate, Vinny, if you're saying that, maybe you're not trying to trade him.
Yeah.
But
how does one injure themselves in warm-ups, Vinny?
Well, juice is flowing. You might go a little
Is he bicycling in the goalpost?
Well, we do one-on-one pass rush there.
And our guys going full out?
No, you ain't supposed to, but you gotta get a little bang in there, so that first play of the game and surprising. But I hope Josh is okay. I mean, Bryce is okay, and I hope AJ is okay too as well.
Yes.
I was waiting for him to say something about AJ. I hope that
it's such a big if there's something seriously wrong with him, we know that the offense is not going to be as good. That goes without saying.
I was just gonna say, when he left the game, the offense looked like crap again. I know
and they found it a little bit.
Yeah, they did. They got back there in the fourth quarter late, but for a quarter and a half. And it was maybe only 2 possessions. I'd have to go back and look. But it does seem like when AJ leaves the game, it's almost like...
Well, we saw it earlier this season.
Yeah, I don't know if it's an internal panic, if they start calling plays more conservatively.
They lean on him. They lean on him, man. You know,
like there is a staunch difference between him being in and out of this Eagles offense.
A couple throws to the middle of the field to AJ in this game too. They hit that dig route a couple times in this one before he left in the first half. So
it's 2 for 36. Yes.
Yeah. So both of them coming through the middle of the field.
All right. Let's get to the super chats that we have. First from Kyle V says, did Jake sleep with Sirianni's wife? And this, of course, because all the extra points being and field goal opportunities being taken off the board from Sirianni. I saw another tweet that was like he's clearly playing against Jake Elliott in his fantasy league this week. But certainly that would be a big story if that were the case, Kyle. From Rohit, the refs tried to #rig it, but Nakobe #stopped the steal. Very timely. Nicely done. Aaron D. Fran, compared to last year, does Jalen look better running to you now or no?
I wouldn't say like significantly. Some people might disagree and say maybe he looks a little bit faster. I mean, certainly he was dealing with that injury sometime midseason last year, and we don't think that he's dealing with anything at the moment. But yeah, I don't think it's like especially more dynamic. But I could be wrong there.
And then finally from Frank, who says after how bad last year's linebackers were, it's amazing having these two out there now. And I think that's absolutely right, Vinny. I mean, the quality of play from the linebackers this season, certainly compared to last season, is night and day.
I'm telling you, man, those guys, Nakobe Dean deserve a dinner. And Zach, you better have your folks call Howie.
And Vic Fangio deserves to just like swag walk around the
So I was thinking, does Vic the GM
get your chest out?
Does Vic the GM now have some equity in there? Because I mean, Zach Baun was his
I think
move.
that's his guy. Yes.
Like, is he going? I'm picking the linebackers.
And it's so funny. From day one, from the first offseason press conference, he was asked about inside linebackers, and the first guy he said was Zach Baun. They had signed Devin White. Howie had really like gassed up Nakobe Dean at the end of season press conference, and the first guy Vic said from day one was Zach Baun.
Baun got basically the same contract that Nicholas Morrow got the year before, the offseason previous, and I mean the difference in play.
Oh my God!
I mean, it's like one of us was out there. Vinny notwithstanding, obviously. I think the Eagles would have been better off with Vinny and middle linebacker last year. Yes. But I think when you look at what he has offered this defense, we talk about like the disguise element in terms of his ability to play up front on the line of scrimmage and then stacked. His abilities in coverage. We saw what he did to impact that interception back in week 1. He gets the diving interception this game. Pass rush, run defense, screen defense. I mean, he's impacted the game in a lot of different ways so far.
And it's really amazing. I believe Zach Baun was the oldest starter on the defense tonight at 27 years old.
It's pretty good.
They went last year. They were the oldest defense in the league when the skid happened in the play. And this year they're the youngest. And Zach Baun was your oldest player on the field tonight. That's a credit to Howie Roseman in the front office for flipping it, because I think the impact Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell have had just on the athleticism and what you can do, I think it's undeniable. And I have your Quinyon Mitchell weekly stat porn if you'd like to hear it.
Yeah, this is I feel like you have fully staked out the Quinyon Mitchell corner.
Yeah, Quinyon Mitchell today. 1 target, 1 catch allowed, 11 yards, and yes, he played all 52 snaps. You don't hear from this guy unless he misses an interception that he almost had, because he's putting people in prison every single week. I mean, he's going to be a Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate. This kid's unbelievable.
If there's like a fan club, like one may call it like QAnon. You would be the leader.
I'm a Q head. I'm a big Q head.
You're the Q shaman.
Just give me the Viking horse. Anybody got
that's
some?
you.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Cooper DeJean continues to look the part as well.
Yeah, so he had 2 huge pass breakups in this game. To your point, I don't know, man. They going neck to neck right now.
Yeah, like it does seem like Cooper DeJean. Look, I know you're coming out of the bye and they worked on some things and tackling. Avonte came in tonight in the dime package on that, and he got picked on immediately.
Yeah.
Avonte was getting picked on those first 4 weeks. I love Avonte. He was versatile, played all sorts of positions for you. Father time and injuries have caught up with him. It's obvious. So by putting Cooper in, I think it changed so much.
Yeah, and I know that position is different on the inside. And Avonte, like when you're in dime, you're sort of like a pseudo linebacker, right?
Right.
But at this point, you got to feel like I'd like to see at least Isaiah Rodgers be on the field and dime over Avonte Maddox now, the way he's played. I mean, I know he's mostly an outside corner, but let's get him on the field.
Yeah, and what I love too about it is the plays he made in this game with third down and fourth down, where you just those high leverage moments. And we saw the plays he made in crunch day. He had the TFL against Jamar Chase last week on fourth down. He had the tackle on the low red zone on the goal line last week as well. He's just come up big.
He seems to, and you would know better, he seems to mentally process the play before it actually happens.
Yeah.
Like that 4th and 1 today, I was talking about it with Fran at halftime. He did the veteran kind of hook around the hip, come over top. This is his 4th game in the NFL. That's not like common.
Between Isaiah Rodgers, Zach Baun, Milton Williams, 3 guys on defense who are all set to be free agents. Who do you think is most likely to be extended midseason? Yeah.
Who's most likely to be extended?
I would have to think Isaiah Rodgers is kind of, I don't want to say expendable, but like with Cooper and Quinion, doesn't that prioritize Baun over
and
Rodgers?
theoretically you've got Ringo as well.
And Ricks.
Yeah.
But my guess is they probably would have started Milton earlier in the process, so he would probably be further along.
I think if they were going to do Milton, they would have already done Milton.
Yes.
I think Milton is now so close to free agency that he might want to play it out.
Moving the weight, yeah. But I would say that's what I was going to say. I feel like Milton would have been started earlier, but I feel like it would be Baun if it would be anybody.
But the thing with Baun is he feels tied to Vic.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're at any bit like not 100% sure that the coaching staff is going to be back, you probably don't extend Zach Baun. Whereas Isaiah Rodgers theoretically could play in any defense. I don't know.
So it's Rodgers for you.
I think it probably is Baun at this point. The fact they're 6-2, like,
got it. Yeah,
but
right.
I think that would be the case I would make for Rodgers.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It would be nice just to not have to reset linebacker all over again next year, right?
Yes,
I think you can absorb the loss of Rodgers more than you can absorb the loss
of
a starting impact linebacker.
Did you ever deal with an in-season contract discussion, Vinny?
Oh yeah, we have.
Do you actually stay out of it, and is it all agent, or is there?
Well,
shed some light on this.
When the team is rolling, you want to stay out of it because you don't want it to start thinking about it out there and messing with your play.
That's a nice ring you got on.
Oh man, appreciate it.
Yeah, how'd you get that? Where'd you get that?
You know, I was feeling. I was trying to bring some good juju to the.
You did.
You took it to rub it in Shady's face.
No,
he got two of them.
That's true. He did get
two of them. You know,
but he didn't get one here.
Yeah, he got 2 of them.
All right, we are.
He would have got one here if he didn't get traded for Kiko Alonso.
Belly shirt. How'd you feel about a guy wearing a belly shirt?
I asked Shady today at the press conference. I said, like, is that wound still there from getting traded? And he said,
yes.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I'll tell
a
you
little
what,
bit.
though.
Like, he's not a player anymore, so it's not really there. But like, yeah, like that's a real thing for him.
The locker room was quiet for about 2 weeks, bro. When that happened, and this how the locker room was.
It was the feeling just like, damn, if they can do that to Shady, they can do that to every one of us.
Well, you got to understand that he was the life of the locker room. You know, he was the life of the locker room. You could have been having a crazy or bad day. He walking there, whatever was going on in your mind, he done took it off of it because he probably done said something crazy out of his mouth or just try to get everybody fired up for practice, bro. And he would tell you how it was, but you knew it was coming from a great place.
I was thinking about this actually because I was watching the new Netflix documentary on the Red Sox 2014, the comeback, which is fantastic. And it's interesting. Theo Epstein, who we think of as like the most analytically forward GM, is talking about like the importance of Kevin Millar as like the
glue guy,
the guy who's just bringing energy every day. Because if you don't have that guy who's just always in a good mood, like the vacuum gets filled with like negative thoughts and stuff like that. We know that BG brings that. And Shady very much brought that as well, in addition to being as amazing as he was on the field.
Oh, absolutely, because you know, you had to lean on each other to bring that energy. So you'll see a lot of more guys coming out their shell, you know, and really letting their personality show when he wasn't there. Because if not, it would have been super quiet the whole entire year. You know what I mean? So. It was just crazy, especially the year before he was the damn NFL leading rusher.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a LaShawn McCoy play that stands out most to you?
Oh my God! What? Yes.
Snow game.
Man.
Snowball. Right.
But yo, first of all, snow game was crazy. Like yo, how's everybody getting to the stadium? And it's like, but if you go, like, that game was so insane because, like I told you, what you see is what you get. With him, his energy level was so high. Oh, snowing out there. We should probably go out there in my Timbs. Nah, I'm about to kill him, though. And then he went out there and he killed him. It was
Killed him.
Oh. Like, he did not slow down. Like, the man was running full speed, still cutting on the dime, like he called himself, you know what I mean? Right in the middle of the snow. I'm like, yo, this is crazy.
He said he loves that game because he was like much easier on his body than any other game because not only could they not tackle him, but when they did, he got to land in like pillowy snow. So it didn't like hurt his body. He said it was so much so that he was able to go out quickly after the game.
Yeah, man. Definitely one of the greatest running backs to come through. So.
How about off the field? Do you have a favorite Shady story?
Oh, man. I told you, he was like the life. He was he the life of the party on and off the field. It was never a dull moment with him.
I also asked Shady after his press conference. I said, I hear you've been watching Vinny. He said, yeah, I always knew Vinny was going to be great on TV. I said him and BG, they got the best personalities. They're made for it.
Man.
So there you go.
So, Vinny, if you're a GM, I'll put you on the spot, ass on the griddle. You got to pick one running back. Is it Saquon or is it Shady? You got one game, one Super Bowl to win. Who are you choosing?
Hi, my name is Slim Shady.
That's good. That's a good team.
You got to stick with your guy. Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, when he left here, he still tore the league up. Let's not forget that part.
Yep. I mean, his longevity is insane.
It was insane.
I used to have this debate on sports radio. I think he's a Hall of Fame caliber running back. Whether he gets in or not is going to be, I know Pro Football Reference has like their calculator and they kind of rank things. I haven't looked at where he is, but like he's going to be on that doorstep.
Oh, dude. But then the argument is, if you look it up, he has his numbers is better than some people that's already in.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So you can't jump the man.
That's the thing. Is running back is one of those positions where, there are so many guys that made it in there. You're like, I don't know if they've got the resume. And I mean, Shady's resume, it speaks for itself.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of running backs of this generation who are going to be pounding on the door, right?
No.
Yeah. All right, let's take one more little break before we hear from Zach Berman in a little bit about what the refs had to say and what he heard from the locker room after this word from our sponsors. A lot has changed over the years, just like the running back value, but one thing that hasn't is the great taste of Miller Lite. Another thing that hasn't is that it remains less filling. So what is the best thing about the original Miller Lite? Well, they sparked this debate back in 1975, and the good news is you don't have to choose. Miller Lite, the same great taste that you have always loved and become accustomed to, because they keep it simple, undebatable quality, great taste, and only 96 calories. It's the beer that strips away everything you don't need and holds on to what matters most, a light beer that tastes like beer, less filling, and only 96 calories. The original light beer since 1975. You don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/PHLY birds, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
And let me tell you about Rothman Orthopedics. When my man Devon Givens tells me that it's top notch and it's the place to go, I trust him, because Devon, he blew his knee out again. He's already out there hooping again because he saw the people at Rothman. And Paul George, he's going to make his debut tomorrow, and you can hear a lot about Rothman with the Sixers guys. So whether it's your joints that are aching, hands cramping, your back's out of whack, there's nothing worse than a bad back. I've got a little bit of shoulder issue. Rothman's got you covered. At Rothman Orthopedics, they're practicing specialized care has been a passion of theirs for over 50 years, and their mission is high-quality, compassionate, and affordable care rooted in research. Research leading to new treatments and better outcomes. Each Rothman doc is a laser focused on their specialty, whether it be hips, knees, spines, you name it. They have a team for each body part right in your backyard, so you can cross over the defense, drain those Jays, and root for your team like no other fans in the country. They're Rothman Orthopedics, and they specialize in you. Rothman Orthopedic, specialized in orthopedics and you. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and to make an appointment today.
All right, we have reached the play-by-play breakdown segment of the PHLY Eagles post-game show. One thing that was very underrated about Shady all those years ago, pretty good in blitz pickup, which was not necessarily known from him entering the league. But we saw that from Saquon in this game as well, Fran. A huge play in this game, 3rd and 9 in the fourth quarter. Let's take a look at what Saquon does, his awareness, Fran. Why don't you break it down?
This was an unbelievable play by Saquon Barkley. I am glad that they pointed it out on the broadcast live because that allowed everybody else to kind of pick up on it. But Jalen Hurts ends up running for 21 yards on this play. And basically, when you look at Saquon Barkley, he starts with his vision on the right. Jacksonville, we talked in the week leading up to this game that they blitzed less than anybody in football, but they like to line up in those pressure looks on 3rd and long, and they have the threat, and you have to respect that threat. And so Saquon's lined up to Jalen Hurts' right, and he's got his eyes on that way. But as soon as that player drops out, he is looking for work immediately. He gets back over to the other side. They sent a rusher off the far left, and he's there to pick him up and give Jalen Hurts that extra beat in the pocket, saves a hit from Hurts, and gives Hurts that alley to be able to take off and run for 21 yards. An outstanding job that this would be a play that could kind of get lost in the shuffle. Again, nearly 200 yards total on the day for Saquon Barkley. 2 touchdowns, 1 through the air, 1 on the ground. If you were watching the pre-show, you may have been able to make some little extra cheddar from Jamie Lynch on the 2 touchdowns there from Saquon. But when you look at this play, this was one of the ones that stood out to me, certainly.
I had the Bet365 odds boost today, Bo, and Vinny, Fran, you can tell me. My thinking was this. I went with Saquon 2 touchdowns because it was 3 straight games of 3 touchdowns rushing for Jalen. I know Nick's a big fan of the show. He cares about what I say. He heard me bitching about the tush push.
No doubt about it. I like that.
He heard me bitching about the tush push last weekend. So I said, Mr. Emotional Intelligence is going to want to get his workhorse some touchdowns. So I choose the 2 touchdowns for Saquon, over 75 yards. I needed A.J. Brown 75 yards or more, and he was well on his way at halftime. And the injury cost me a 6-1
And we will get to the first of those touchdowns from Saquon in a minute. But also, we didn't talk about a coward's draw touchdown.
Yeah.
You weren't in the stadium for it, right? So
I had just left. Exactly.
Did it chill go down your spine as it happened? Like it was like somewhere a coward's draw just hit.
Yes. That's exactly what happened.
How do you think Doug processes being on the other end of
I know for Doug. I mean, that is as insult to injury as you could possibly get.
That's going to be chewing him up all week.
And like untouched, too. Brutal. All right, let's go to the defensive side of the ball, Vinny. Let's look at the first sack of the game for the Eagles defense. Josh Sweat finishes it. Milton Williams starts it.
Man,
I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, can you make it a little bigger? Yeah, so what you see here is,
Milton beats his guy.
Yeah, Milton beats his guy, but Josh, you see the speed, the power with the get off. Josh is, he didn't understood that, Trevor was going to set back kind of deeper, and Josh just took his guy, took him high, speed the power on, came off his side for the sack.
What kind of does Josh Sweat remind you of anybody? Anybody that you played with?
I'm just giving him a bigger view here of the play.
Yeah. So now I would just say that it goes to show you how strong and how far Josh came. What he added to his toolbox in this game. So it was definitely cool to see him go out there today and get 2 sacks.
And he has been close the last couple weeks.
I told you he was heating up.
Yes, and so for him to finish one, even if it sort of started with Milton, that is nice to see. All right, let's go now to the Saquon touchdown reception, Fran. And we've sort of, we saw week 1, they throw to Saquon, and we're thinking maybe this is going to be a bigger part of the offense. And it hasn't really been a big part of the offense, but they hit the wheel in this one.
Yeah, and so really the big thing that you see here on this play is that they send Jahan Dotson in motion just before the snap. And that's going to be an indicator for Jalen Hurts that this is going to be some kind of man coverage potentially. But when no one runs with Jahan Dotson, It's like, all right, it could be zone here, and that could have spooked Jalen Hurts off and say, like, oh, maybe I'm not going to throw this wheel route. But he actually does a nice job because it still ends up being isolated coverage where you get the one-on-one with Saquon Barkley and the linebacker. They basically ran a post wheel. So you're taking that receiver that's at the bottom of the screen, and you're going to have him run the post. That's Grant Calcaterra running down the seam and then towards the middle of the field. That's going to basically create that one-on-one matchup for Saquon Barkley. This was a really nice ball from Hurts over the shoulder. Great finish from Barkley, obviously, of looking it in, but also kind of like the DeVonta play where he makes sure that both feet inbounds. He drug that left foot there at the end, so you get 2 feet in, but really nice job by the Eagles because, again, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they play more man coverage than anybody, so you had that ability. We said it, that you had to feel good about all of these matchups. A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, even Calcaterra, but you looked at Saquon Barkley and so you feel good about the Eagles winning all of those matchups. If it's man-to-man, the Eagles got the matchup they wanted. Jalen Hurts delivered. Great ball. Great catch by Saquon.
And just so the people in the chat know, I gotta stand up for my guy, Andrew, because the rules of YouTube, we're not allowed to just go full screen on that thing. We have to show who it's coming from.
The NFL
we
will
have
shut
to
us
give
down.
the attribution. So, lay off my man. I got your back. Just like he's got Shady's back, I got your back, Andrew. Lay off my man. And nice job, Fran. Jamie, it finally happened.
The first quarter touchdown.
Yes. and I love that it was so committed to the bit that they still couldn't do it on their opening drive, but they were able to do it before the defense ever took the field.
Brown,
Thanks
again.
to Sidney Brown. Yeah.
Throw him on the dinner tab tonight. Sidney Brown got the Eagles their first quarter point, so nobody can talk about it anymore.
Finally happened.
You know what's weird is the 2 teams that I think are the worst at it are the Chiefs and the Eagles this year in first quarter points. I believe that was in my notes from earlier today. So it's not indicative of being a bad team per se, which is weird.
Well, yes, and as Deniz has pointed out, the Eagles are like the worst offense in the league on first and second drives this season, and by far the best on the third drive and on.
So bizarre. So does that, the 15 play scripted, it's got to be, right?
Got to be.
What else could it be? Yeah.
But
they came out a little conservative in this game on offense. Right. It felt.
When stuff started getting stagnant, shoot, for 15 plays, I just run who? Saquon. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Just 15 straight handoffs. And see what happens. Yeah.
One of them eventually going to pop.
Yeah, seriously.
He's that dynamic.
There we go. One thing that was interesting on offense from the game plan standpoint, Fran, it was funny. Last week we saw the Jamar Chase touchdown coming from out of the backfield.
Yep.
And we were like, you know what? Remember they did that with DeVonta like last year for 1 or 2 plays, and we haven't seen it since? They put it back in the game plan for this game. We saw it 5 or 6 times, and there was only one time when they threw it to him, and it actually should have been intercepted.
Yes.
But what did you see from them using that?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you can help to dig. First of all, it's a good way to give Jalen Hurts some information before the snap because it can be a man zone tell, much in the way that when they line up in empty and you've got a running back lined up at number 1 receiver and DeVonta Smith lined up at number 3. When you put DeVonta Smith in the backfield, that can bring a corner inside, and now all of a sudden okay, it's going to be man-to-man coverage. Or if they don't do that, now you feel good that it could be a good matchup that you like, where it's DeVonta against a linebacker. So you have that ability to kind of dictate to the defense in that way. So I'm excited to go back and just kind of see what exactly the Eagles were hoping to do off of a number of those concepts. But it is funny that we saw that last week, and they watched it, I'm sure, the whole week before.
Oh, yeah, we could do that.
Chase. Oh, yeah, this is something that we have done in the past. And look, Kellen Moore has had experience doing that because he's done it with CeeDee Lamb in the past. And I know he did it with Keenan Allen last year as well. They had him run some routes out of the backfield. And so who knows? Maybe that's something we'll continue to see.
You mentioned CeeDee Lamb. We should mention Cowboys on tap next weekend. CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott both lead this game and do not return with injuries.
Cooper Rush can beat us. It's just one of those things. I'm not going to say it's the Cowboys do suck. I mean, Dak is saying it on the sidelines. I have the line right here on Bet365. Let's take a little guessing game. Eagles at Dallas, Bet365 next week.
I thought it was here. It's at?
No, it's at, right?
It's at, isn't it?
The first one's there.
4:25 game. I would imagine Brady's on the call, maybe.
Eagles by 3?
3.5.
6.5.
Wow. They must think Dak is out.
The Cowboys are cooked. I mean, Dak is on the sideline going, we bleeping suck.
All right. So let me ask you this, Vinny. You're on a podcast with your teammate. You're playing. Okay, so this is your playing days. You're on a podcast with your teammate, and you're talking about another team's quarterback, and you're like, oh, he's probably a top 10 quarterback. And you start going through the list of all the quarterbacks in the NFL that are probably in the top 10, and you don't name your guy. So that's what Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs did this last week. They were talking about Jaden Daniels, and they were like, he's got to be a top 10 quarterback. And they start going, the top 10 quarterbacks, Mahomes, and they start going down the list, and they don't mention Dak. Slip of the mind, or you think like that's something?
Or this is why you don't podcast in season.
No, listen. Now, wait, I'm on an opposing team, or
that's your team. That's your teammate.
You and Shady are doing
what if you did that and you didn't say Mike Vick?
Right.
I would have had to go back on that day.
Right, yeah.
And try to fix it.
Take it down, re-edit us to say just saying that.
We would try to fix that as quick as possible. Like the fact it didn't say that, then it trickles down to today, and he's on the sideline going, "We suck."
Yeah,
it goes to show you what they got going on over there. But show no sympathy. Step on it.
Yep.
So Vinny, there's extra juice this week, right?
Oh yeah, what? Yeah.
Even when the Cowboys suck, you may have felt it more than others.
Because when they suck, that's their business. And when we come in there, we still got to go in there and hit everything moving. Because they wouldn't care.
Yeah.
It's a tough watch, that team right now. I mean, I watched their offense Thursday, Friday, their defense over the weekend. They're not creating any explosives defensively, not getting any stops. The pressure is very up and down. Offensively, they can't run the ball. They've got nothing outside of CeeDee Lamb.
They look very defeated when something don't go their way right away. Oh, my God, they look defeated.
Yeah, it's a rough team.
Well, they've always sort of been front runners. Right?
Yeah. This is from my notes today. So, Saquon's going to have another huge game next week. The Dallas run defense is atrocious. They've allowed 12 rushing touchdowns, the second most in the NFL behind only the Panthers. And Dallas is 32nd in rushing per EPA per play and 31st in rush success rate per play. That was prior to today's game, so that could change a little bit. But they're a dumpster fire.
And that's when we're going into the season. Everybody was like, their defensive tackles are terrible. That's when where you talked about the Eagles linebackers last year. Fran and Jamie, you guys might be able to start for the Cowboys.
Well, they got what? Lindell Joseph. They signed
Linval.
They signed Linval. Just
good for
him. He played for Mike Zimmer. So they were like, we got to bring him in.
And
their first round pick from last year, Mozzie Smith, is not good.
It doesn't matter because Saquon need to go for 200.
Mozzie Smith plays every down. I don't know if he has a pressure yet. And he's getting moved in the run game. If you compare him to Jordan Davis, it's not even close. Jordan is definitely further along.
This does not always turn out well.
Yes.
Right? And the Cowboys have had some very good draft picks in recent years.
Sure.
But I will tell you that my understanding is the reaction in the Eagles building when the Cowboys drafted Mozzie Smith was like, oh, yeah. That guy's not good.
And you want to hear about Dak Prescott as an underdog real quick before we get to Zach?
Yes.
In his career as an underdog, Dak Prescott is 17-20 against the spread, but in his last 12 games as a dog, he is just 2-10 against the spread in the last 12 starts. Since 2020, he's 4-12 against the spread as a dog. The only quarterbacks that are worse, Bryce Young, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones.
What about Cooper Rush?
Nice.
Oh, he's going to light us up.
Yeah, there you go. All right, we have our man, the pool reporter for all of us.
Look at that backdrop.
Zach Berman, looking sharp. Got the lights on at the LINC. He's at the 45-yard line, looking good. He's given us just a little tasteful
chest hair.
Little glimpse of chest hair. Fantastic. Zach Berman, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Been a busy few hours. Pumped to come on the show. Was worried I was going to keep you guys hanging for a little too long. So hustled up here from a little disheveled. That's why I was trying to hustle up, but thrilled to talk to you guys.
All right, let's start with your responsibility for the larger reporter group, the pool report. How did it go? What did the refs have to say?
So, Bo, I don't know if the Eagles have released it to everybody yet. So I've got to kind of work it. Now, I have a responsibility to the show too, right? I want to make sure I'm providing information.
You have already done your part. You have given it to the league to do. You have done your part. Now you're ours.
Yeah. So
now for the people who don't understand, who this may be fresh to them. If there is something that the umpires or the referees need to be interviewed for about the game, there is one person who is designated as the pool reporter. It's usually the handsomest of the reporters is how they decide. and that is you.
I don't know about it. Well, that's not how it might be the shortest, right? You draw the short straw. So, yeah. No, yeah, and then you're not supposed to use it for your own purposes. It's for the good of the group. But I will tell you guys this: if you did speak to an official about this, the explanation might be that Saquon there was contact from 51, the defensive player, but then after that there was contact from 69, the offensive player, Landon Dickerson, and therefore it's considered a stumble instead of down by contact because he hit his player thereafter. Had he not hit his offensive player after the contact from the defensive player, it would have been down by contact. So because he hit the offensive player, it's considered a stumble as opposed to down by contact.
Is that like defined in the rule book? Like if he was on his way down and then bounced off Landon Dickerson and then went to that feels a little bit incomplete. I actually don't think it was the worst call in the world, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, so actually while I was waiting to speak to someone from the officiating staff, I was watching the beginning of the show and I saw there were a lot of questions about this in the chat. So I'm glad I can address it. Yeah, I think the distinction here is between stumble and down by contact, and that was considered specifically to be a stumble.
Interesting. Okay, and was that the only question that a pool reporter would have asked the referees about were he to do so?
Well, yeah. So then I asked why it was ruled a fumble, and then after that, my follow-up question then was, what would have it taken for the contact from 51 to be considered down by contact?
And what did they say?
That if he didn't hit the offensive player afterwards.
Got
it. Essentially. Speaking to Saquon about it, Saquon, he said on that play there that he knew once it was ruled a fumble on the field, it was going to be a fumble. He said he's had plays like that before. So he wasn't surprised by the call.
Did he?
He didn't think his ball security was a problem there
because of the contact from a defender?
Well, yeah. So I said that you think you were down by contact there. And he's like, it's a play that bothers him, but there was nothing he thought his ball security was good on that play. So he was like, it's one of those, your elbow hits the ground. He thought it was down, but
does
then
he
when
think he was tackled, or does he think he just tripped over Landon Dickerson?
Oh, he didn't. He just said he wasn't surprised by the call.
Okay.
So it's a good question.
All right. Now, once again, a win for the Eagles in which Nick Sirianni is very much under focus. Lots of fourth down decisions and 2-point conversion decisions in this game. What did you think of Nick Sirianni's game management?
Well, I'll actually give some reporting from the locker room here. And I know you asked me, I do want to give my opinion here, but I think it was interesting because Lane Johnson was fairly honest. I spoke to Lane about this. Like I was specifically asking Lane, and Lane thought they should have scored 40 points today. So he was frustrated. He said
it's not wrong.
He said this was a game they should have scored more points. And he was real frustrated about some of the situational stuff, which Jalen Hurts also referenced. But I asked Lane about the field goals and the 2-point conversion, or the fourth downs and 2-point conversions in particular. And he said he would have no problem kicking field goals in those spots. That's kind of what he said there.
Interesting.
So, he's like, they have to execute, but he would have no problem with field goals in those spots. I think Lane's feeling was that there was points left on the board. And I will have all that in my article, like fleshed out a little bit more, but that's kind of the highlights there. Is I thought Lane was fairly honest about that. Because I was getting a lot of texts about this during the game. My perspective.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my perspective is that I'm always in favor of going for 2-point conversions when you get the penalty and you're on the 1-yard line. It's just the probability of converting from 1 yard away it's high enough that that it's worth doing it. Some of the fourth down calls, I typically like going for fourth downs, especially short yardage situations. And I don't agree that just because they're stopping you on one doesn't mean you don't do it the next. I think you have to look at it almost like you're playing blackjack, right? If you're hitting on 16, right, and you bust, you don't just stick the next time, right? It's independent. That said, I would have made it a 2-possession game, right? I would have gone for the field goal when they were, or what did I admit it, an 8-point game? Were they up 5 or were they up 6 at that point?
They were up 5.
They were up 5, yeah. So then it still would have been a 1-possession game, 2-score game, essentially. Touchdown. So I would have ensured that you can't lose the lead. I would have kicked the field goal there.
Yep.
I would have. It was 4th and inches. I would have gone for the tush push. To me, the problem was not going for the tush push. And if you don't trust it, then probably kick the field goal. We didn't talk about the 57-yarder. Yeah. So 4th and 3, just over 2 minutes left. The Jaguars have used up all of their timeouts. They go for the 57-yard field goal, and Jake Elliott hits the post and does not go in. Let's go around the horn. What would you have done on that one?
I probably would have kicked it. I would have trusted Jake.
Say that, yeah, I think I would have kicked it.
Jake Elliott has a lot of equity.
Usually, listen, man, 9 times out of 10 he hits that kick.
Yeah.
In the moment, I felt kicked. I did not feel great about it. You asked me in the moment. You were like, "What'd you kick?" I was like, "Oh, I don't feel good about it." But
that was a tough one. That was a tough one. Yeah, like I lean like I would have gone for it, but I wouldn't have felt good about it.
Yeah.
I
did not realize it was 57. Like I thought, I was like, "Oh, they're close. All right, you kick the field goal, you're in good shape." And then when they said 57 yards, I was like, "Oh,
yeah," because you're giving them the short field. Then, Go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, I was surprised in real time, right? And it was one of those things I had to talk myself into the field goal there. I was like, I guess this makes sense. I thought they should have kicked the field goal earlier when it was actually 4th and inches, right? So then I guess it makes sense. I just thought 4th and 3, try to end the game with the ball in your hands. That's what I was thinking there, similar to the Falcons game, but I didn't have reservations about it because you want to make it want to make it such that you can't lose the game. But like Fran said, 57 yards, that's a long field goal. I actually don't think that's like an automatic.
There's Temple kids out here making 62-yarders weekly. What's 57 anymore?
I do think in the larger conversation is that there doesn't seem to be consistency in the decision-making from Nick Sirianni. It's not like he has a philosophy that he sticks to. It seems a little bit too dependent on his whims. But
now you guys heard Sirianni, right? So like I don't like the idea that, well, this is your bread and butter play for 3 years. Jacksonville stopped it, so then you're going to get away from it. I did not like that.
He's the one who has to have the balls to go for it on 4th down. Like that's his job is to have the balls.
Yeah. I like being aggressive. I didn't like those play calls.
Zach, I texted you something I'm curious of, and I'm wondering if it came up with Saquon.
Absolutely.
You know, the DeVonta Smith touchdown saved a lot of things there, but Saquon not picking up the first, in theory, short of the sticks there. I understand what he was trying to do. Maybe he thought he had the first down. Is that something that's coached up that way, or was that Saquon's decision to go down there? Because it almost ended up being a costly one.
Yeah, Jamie, when you tell me to get on something, I get on it. And I was actually planning on asking that, but actually my friend Dave Zangaro asked it right before I did. And so this is what happened there. It wasn't something he was coached to do. He was worried about ball security in that spot. He didn't quite know where the defender was, okay, in that spot. And then he didn't totally feel comfortable with kind of like his, I don't want to say his ball security there, but he just felt uneasy in that spot there. And not knowing where the defenders were, he thought the best thing to do would be live for another play. It was not a matter of trying to stay in bounds.
Okay.
He says Nick Sirianni reps him on this.
Interesting.
He understands situationally the first down is better than the clock there. So he said he wasn't worried about not getting or about going out of bounds. He said his teammates said when he got to the sideline, you could have gotten the first. He should have listened to them. But in the moment there, he was worried about the ball security and not knowing where the Jaguars defender was and not kind of feeling totally comfortable with how his body was in that particular moment. He thought, go down, live for another play.
Interesting.
They're cutting the lights on you, Zach.
Yeah, actually, I like that what we're getting here. It's almost like a 360 view because we get the reflection from behind you. So your animated hand motions we're getting a little bit of in the mirror there.
Yeah, if I had a broken hand, it's like a speech impediment sometimes, right?
Oh, speaking of that, yeah, Bryce Huff. Sirianni says he might have dinged up the hand there prior to the game in warmups. What's the ZB interpretation on that?
I'm not buying it. I'll defer. I'll defer to Vinny on this.
Wow.
I'll defer to Vinny on this. Is that if a player hurts his hand in warmups, you're either playing him or not playing him, right? You're not just randomly putting him in on a few third downs. I imagine. Number one. Number two. My understanding is Bryce Huff declined comment after the game. Right, okay. Which would indicate that
spicy,
that there's something here he did not want to talk about, and it just seemed like the usage did not seem to suggest injury related to me. Maybe I'm wrong.
I feel like this is the most skeptical I've ever heard.
I agree.
Yeah, and I'm not. Look,
this is wild.
I'm not calling like Sirianni a liar or anything like that. I think Sirianni's covering for his player. I just think that was a convenient explanation. Maybe I'm wrong. But like to me, if you're injured, you're probably not playing, or you're going to play early on and feel it out, and then it's not feeling right. You come off, but you wouldn't wait for like the third series to put them in on a third down and on the third series of a game. That just doesn't add up to me. It's like your hand's okay to play on a third down in the third series, but not the first series or the second series. It just doesn't. Yeah, it smells fishy to me.
I am loving this side of you.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
Question everything, Zach.
Yeah. What else did you learn from the locker room, Zach?
Yeah. So look, there's a lot of praise for Saquon's play there, as you can imagine. You heard what Nick Sirianni said. I heard that throughout the locker room. Just players were enthused by that play, and just so impressed by it. Jalen Hurts was interesting. Jalen Hurts, of course, said, "You guys didn't ask me about Jacksonville's defense this week. I told you this is what Jacksonville's defense was like in the front." He said they need to play better situationally. And so I asked him, what specifically situationally are you referring to? And he said fourth downs. So that's what jumped out to him. And then also not finishing with the ball in their hands is something that was brought up there. Someone prefaced a reporter, John McMullen, prefaced the question by saying how good he is at throwing the deep ball. And Jalen said that's the first time I've ever heard that, which actually surprised me. I thought he's like, he said that they said I can't throw that pass. I've actually thought that was something that Jalen's always been praised for was the deep ball. So I don't know if this is like
that feels like
Michael Jordan carrying all the slide. Yeah. But he was saying how he didn't have vision on DeVonta on that touchdown. And he said one thing that's kind of underrated or that people don't really think about is that the quarterback doesn't always have vision on the play. And so you kind of have to trust your guy down there where he's supposed to be, and it's something that you rep. I thought it was interesting too that Nakobe Dean, he spoke about how the interception that he had was the play he got beat on in the open practice. And it's something that that guys have been that like Jalen and Kenny Gainwell have been working on with him. And so actually I went up to Jalen after the press conference, and I was just like looking for just like a simple thing. But Jalen, I spoke to Jalen, I don't want to say for a while, for maybe 2 or 3 minutes after the press conference about that Nakobe. Yeah, well, about that Nakobe play. And he was giving really interesting insight on like little things that defensive players might do that you have these conversations about. So like Slay's interception in training camp, it's something that like they're talking about. So there's been conversations with Nakobe Dean in that route. Right? There's 2 ways they can go, right? And like to look out for it. And that this is something that Nakobe's drilled, that Nakobe's worked on. And so when Nakobe was in that spot, I don't want to say he knew what to do, but he was able to play the technique that he did and had the anticipation that he did based on conversations that they've had since Kenny Gainwell beat him right over there in the open practice.
That's great insight. That's fantastic.
Zach, you mentioned that Jalen said he didn't see DeVonta Smith on the big play touchdown. One receiver he did not see throughout the second half was A.J. Brown. any word from the locker room, any vibes, any thoughts in terms of what his availability could be in the future? I know, Nick Sirianni said it in the press conference that he had no information. Obviously, that's what he's going to say post game. But any feeling on how extensive that could be?
Good question. Because there was not information on it, but I'll give kind of color that you might not have saw on TV because this was happening right in front of me. Did they show it on TV? Like what was happening?
Not much.
They just showed him walking into the tunnel.
It was right in front of me. And so the defense was on the field, but I saw something wasn't right with AJ. Like he wasn't standing where he typically stands.
Sniffed it out.
The journalism.
He wasn't standing where he typically stands. So he was standing on the complete opposite side, and he was speaking to Hunkley, the head trainer, and then they called DeLuca over, Peter DeLuca, who's I believe the orthopedic surgeon, and then they were talking. And then at one point, Saquon came over from the other side to chat real quick with AJ. And then I didn't know if it was an equipment adjustment or what, but he was speaking. So you got the training staff and the medical staff, top officials from the training staff and the medical staff. He chatted with them, and then he walked right to the locker room. Now, on his way to the locker room, he stopped and gave LaShawn McCoy a hug. But this was striking to me because typically you don't come out for the second half, right?
Yeah.
You're injured, you don't come out for the second half. He was out there, he was in pads. Right, because this was the thing I was watching for. I wanted to see if AJ came out. He was in pads. He was there, and then when he went over to that side and he was meeting with it, that struck me as odd. So there was something there that didn't quite feel right for AJ. So I don't have information on a prognosis. It is a knee, which always gets you a little concerned here.
So ZB, do you trust
we'll
the online doctors of the world that diagnose things live in real time?
No.
Well,
they know better than I do. What are they saying?
Deepak Chona, MD, Sports Medical Analytics, says, from the video I can see on A.J. Brown, video suggests no severe mechanism, unclear diagnosis, suspect short-term injury, but TBD. Okay. Practice will be key. So not a lot, but it looks like nothing.
I could have told you that part of the evaluation, the practice. but yeah, all right. So now he was walking.
I guess that's mildly good news.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not as if he was carted off. I did not see him in the locker room. Nick had not met with the medical staff yet, but it did strike me that he came back out and that he was in uniform there.
Now, Zach, one thing that has been gangbusters for PHLY business over the past 24 hours, I just want to ask you, do you have any insight? Were there any pushing and shoving matches between players and reporters after the game? This could get you on Good Morning America.
I would love to be on Good Morning America. That'd be a great spot. No, there was no pushing, there was no shoving, anything of that nature. But if you know any, I actually have a good friend from college whose wife I believe is one of the booking producers or is part of Good Morning America. So I've never been asked to be on, but that'd be a pretty cool spot.
Well, Kyle Newbeck's is going to be big time with you in the office this week.
I know. I saw that on Slack. That's impressive. Good job by Kyle.
Zach, where does the Saquon play and the DeVonta catch, where do those two rank in the pantheon of the best plays that you've seen live?
Well, real quick, by the way, on the Saquon play, I said I had never seen that before. He said he's done that before against Iowa in college. So we got to go back and watch the film here, the Penn State-Iowa game. But he said he had done that before. The Saquon play was like the most athletically marveling play that I've seen. Now, I've seen LaShawn make cuts that are just ridiculous, right? But I didn't know that you can like hurdle someone backwards like that. I've never quite seen that before. I was trying to think about it, like even in track and meet things, in track and field meets, you don't see backwards hurdles, right? So
that would be
so that was as impressive of an athletic feat as I've seen. DeVonta's catch, like the hand-eye coordination there. Now I've seen a lot of one-handed catches recently. Garrett Wilson catch the other night was awesome. That was really impressive. Obviously, Odell's, but the best catch I've ever seen, and you guys might remember this, it was Vinny's rookie year. Jason Avant against Tampa Bay.
Yes.
Tampa Bay.
I remember that.
Do you remember that?
Oh,
And
yeah.
he like picked the ball out of the air from the nose of the
Vinny
football.
knew it right when you said
Like,
it.
Okay, yeah. That to me, that was the best catch I've ever seen. Now, it wasn't as consequential, although the Eagles did win the game. It was the only win after the 3-1 start all year that year. Was in Tampa Bay. Nick Foles to Jeremy Maclin on the right side to win the game. But that was probably the best catch I've seen this when you consider DeVonta tonight. That was huge. I have to put Alshon Jeffrey's catch in the Super Bowl. Not as like impressive of like the athletic, but the coordination that it took to
And
go
his
up
shoulder
there
was
for
all
that.
effed up too.
Exactly. So
And he famously said about that catch. It was a pretty good catch.
You know what? Alshon and I always had good conversations.
I love Alshon.
You just had to
I
get
just
close.
he doesn't speak loudly.
Yeah. I always had to know what I always had to know the score of the Chicago Bulls game the night before, right? For any small talk with Alshon, because like if you asked him anything about receiving, he wouldn't say much. But if I brought up like the Bulls game the night before, it would be like a 12-minute conversation in the locker room. Lonzo wasn't there at the time, but yeah, he did love his Bulls.
Is this fair? Do you remember this about Alshon? He spoke at a very low volume, or was that just to reporters?
No, that's how he is.
He
got a real like a real mellow tone to himself.
Can I tell my favorite Alshon story?
Please.
So Super Bowl parade, where we get to. It didn't take long before like the Miller Lite cans were flying from the fans and into all the floats, and we were towards the art museum. I was in the last float in the parade, and Alshon had come into our floats. So we're so he's up there. So we're there's beers coming from all angles, and Alshon catches it. It was dangerous because those things were flying, and Alshon caught one in the back of the head. So he takes one. I'm like, Alshon, like, are you all right? He's like, yeah, I don't have to pass protocol for 5 months. That was like one of the only conversations I ever had with him. It was outstanding.
That's pretty good.
My best Alshon story was he called me over one time. And with no context then and no context now, I still don't know what he's referring to. Called me over and he said, don't let those MFers F with you. Okay. And I'm not saying the whole thing. He just said that. And I was like, what? He's like, don't let them F with you. And that was it. And I still don't know what he was referring to.
He could
to
see
this
the
day.
future, Zach. He was talking about this show.
He was talking about this show. Yeah, exactly. He was thinking about a Penn professor on a Friday. He was speaking with yeah.
He was coming to you with a vision from the future.
Maybe so.
So Zach, real quick, sorry. Vinny said, if he's Nick Sirianni, he's taking Nakobe Dean out and DeVonta Smith out for dinner today. If Zach Berman's giving out a game ball today, who's number 1, 2, and 3, and in what order do you have them?
Ooh, good question. So actually, in the locker room, Saquon and Nakobe both got game balls. I'm still giving Saquon the game ball here. Well, he had a $150 plus, right? And it's his fourth game with over 100 yards. That third down touchdown was huge. The third and long touchdown. I asked Sirianni about that. I probably give Nakobe Dean the second game ball. That's a game winning or that's a game saving pick. And then the third game ball, probably DeVonta. Maybe it's Jam. Yeah, probably DeVonta. I thought the old line was hit and miss. Probably DeVonta.
Okay.
Am I missing someone? Zach Baun played real well.
Zach Baun, Josh Sweat.
And Vinny mentioned Sidney Brown as well.
Huge play.
Oh, that was a huge play.
Yeah,
that was a huge play.
You got to give out a special team game ball.
Oh, that's
how
right.
that's how they do
It's
it.
true.
Offense, defense, special team.
That's exactly right. All right, Zach, what can we look forward to reading on allphly.com and any other leftovers that we should know about?
Yeah, I'm going to do that thing where I have words that kind of come back. Keep going back to that joke.
So a couple letters together form a word.
Yeah. So I'm going to put the spotlight on Saquon's play, Nakobe's play, and DeVonta's play. Okay? And then I'm going to get into the poor situational work. Or some of the how they left points on the board here, some of Nick Sirianni's decisions. And then I'll probably look at the big picture part of this, which is the fact that and I said this on the pregame show talking to Jamie and Fran, and I felt this before the game. I feel it now. Like back during the bye week, I said maybe everyone's overreacting, right? This is a soft schedule coming up. And here they are. They've won 4 in a row. They're 6-2. And I would say there's going to be a point in the season where it won't look like this either, right? When you face the Ravens there, we'll see how that Rams game pans out. We'll see the Washington game on a short week. They have some tougher games coming up here too. So it's usually not as good as it seems when you're winning, and it's not as bad as it seems when you're losing. Although last year was actually worse than I thought when they were losing. But yeah, look, they're in a really good spot here, 6-2. But there's a lot they need to fix, and I do think tonight's an example of a game where, like Lane said, they should have put up 40. They'd left points on the board, and against good teams, you can't leave as many points on the board as they did tonight.
Last thing for me, Zach, you sort of touched on it. 40 hours from now, NFL trade deadline. Eagles now 6-2. Who knows what's up with Bryce Huff? Do you think they make a move?
Yes, but a minor one.
Okay.
Although minors, you know what? I'm just going to take out the minor one. Yes, because if they do, it doesn't matter if it's major or minor. I called it, right? So,
there you go.
Yes, I think they make a move.
All right. Well, we will look forward to covering that over the next 2 days on allphly.com and on our show. Thank you so much, Zach. We look forward to reading the story on allphly.com. Good luck writing.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, Zach.
All right. 3 quick things I want to get.
Okay.
Do you guys think they make a move?
Yes.
Edge? Like, you think that's what's going to happen? Like,
No.
I've leaned no this whole time.
I feel like they've been burned recently, and I feel like Howie might go a little gun shy.
Yeah, I think Dotson, you just made that move. I'm going to say no.
I think the move is going to probably be like one of those, not the real super splashy move, but something they might need on special teams or something.
Oh, that's interesting.
If they was to
Yeah.
make a move.
I think my antenna is up on the Huff thing, that maybe there is something coming on the edge.
I mean, if they do it, at the end is
Yes.
the only pretty much logical place, right?
But only if you're moving Huff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think interior you can make a case for, potentially.
That was my preseason prediction
yeah.
with you when you hit the
Yeah, I
staff
know,
up.
that
I
was-
said
that was
a
a very
DN
good
trade at
position.
the deadline.
Yes.
I would like to be right, I guess.
Second thing, big picture. This game where inside the numbers, you would say that they dominated this game. Pretty good performance. Obviously, it flipped a little bit in the second half. Do you generally feel better about this team than you did 24 hours ago? Do you think this is we talked about last week, is this team potentially a Super Bowl contender? Do you put them with the second tier of NFC teams behind Detroit?
Yeah, I think Detroit and Baltimore are your clear kind of favorites. Kansas City might nuzzle in there.
Mm-hmm.
They have some things that are going wrong there as well, but their defense is phenomenal. So, probably right, the Chiefs are in between tier 1 and tier 2. And I think the Eagles are clearly in tier 2 with the Lions and Ravens in kind of their own category. So, yeah, I mean, anything's possible here. They're rolling now. It's 4 in a row, all thanks to Nick Sirianni saving his head. And you got a really bad Cowboys team next week to make it 5 in a row. And then you got, a steel-on-steel matchup with the Commanders basically for control of the division, which is going to be a huge game.
Yes, and Thursday night, and a big night for Vinny Curry.
Oh, man, it's going to be crazy.
You like this team?
I like it.
Okay.
I like it. I mean, if you go back to what I've been saying a couple weeks ago, I kind of tried to let y'all know that they was turning the corner and they was getting ready to make a run for it. But I do think the most important stretch is getting ready to come up.
The Commanders game, I think, is going to be – because, look, the Commanders, this is rare for them. They only have 3 turnovers on the year.
They're pretty good.
They're pretty good, and their defense is playing way better than expected. Jaden Daniels, offensive rookie of the year.
Fran smirked at the defense.
The defense. I don't know. We'll see about the defense.
they
I'm
can be
excited to dig a little deeper into the Giants were kind of moving the ball on them today.
A little bit, yeah. It's going to be a good game because I don't know if that one's up here or down there, but the Eagles dominate FedEx Field. The Commanders always seem to play well
That's
in
true.
the link.
Yeah.
They inverse play that. So it's going to be an awesome game coming up. I think Dallas is kind of I think they're going to blow the doors off of them. I think they win by 20 plus next week.
You mentioned the hair. You were impressed by the grow back rate for Nick.
Man. Nick hair grew back fast.
Pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
Not bad. right, the last thing I want to end on is what ended the game, and that is Nakobe Dean.
Oh, man.
Because from a person standpoint, like a human interest standpoint, this guy who came in so highly touted as a third-round pick and struggled with injuries the first 2 years, could not get on the field, and even when he was on the field, struggled a little bit. For him to have this moment, I think we owe him celebrating him at the end of this game. Are there moments that you think back on, Vinny, where young in your career, you had some doubts, you didn't get to make the impact you wanted, and then had a moment to like really prove yourself at that kind of level?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. I know how that feeling that he's feeling right now, especially like never had the walk-off though. The walk-off is mean. That's like the sprinkles on top. Like,
yeah.
To have the walk-off at this moment and the way he's been playing these last couple of weeks, hats off to him, man.
I mean, to prove yourself at that level, but also to like be the guy who saves it for your teammates, right?
Crazy.
Like everybody's counting on you and you make that play like that. That's awesome.
And we've talked about, especially on defense over these last couple of weeks, how confidence is so important for those guys. And you have so many young guys on that side of the ball. And for him to have that moment, he's had moments this year already where all right, like he looks like he's a solid starter, maybe not like an impact player, but it's like have that moment and try and build off that's huge for him.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us and hanging out on a very eventful 28-23 win for the Philadelphia Eagles, going to 6-2 ahead of a trip to Dallas next weekend.
Bo, and I just want to remind people next Sunday.
Yes.
Pregame show. We're going to be out in Manayunk. Come on, Manayunk. We need you. Let's show up.
At the Rook.
At the Rook in Manayunk, which is a great bar. I'll be there with Handsome Rich doing a little pregame show. We'll be doing the postgame show with the crew back in the studio. But it's brought to us by our friends at Miller Lite. So we're probably going to have some giveaways. We always do. Some great stuff. So hopefully, come on, East Falls, Mount Airy, Manayunk, Roxborough, Andorra. Come on, let's show up. Let's have some Miller Lights next week at the Rook and have a good time because the birds are back. They got the juice.
No throwing Miller Lights at Jamie's head, though.
No, I'm not as tough as Alshon. I think that would take me down.
But we don't have a protocol, to be fair.
That's true.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the Preakness. I used to.
Did you do it? Did you do the porta potty run?
No.
Okay.
But I very much liked watching the potty runs and seeing people get taken out with. It's a dangerous game.
Yeah, that's
the idea of Jamie doing a post-game show concussed does have me intrigued. I will say that.
It's not that different from the.
All right, that'll do it for the PHLY Eagles post-game show. Thank you to Andrew for making it happen behind the scenes and Zach for joining us from the link. Most of all, thanks to all of you for watching and listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 2 o'clock, myself and Zach Berman, and then a 2-hour trade deadline show on Tuesday, the most important day of the Eagles here, of course. And then next Sunday, the Cowboys. Thanks to Vinny, thanks to Jamie, thanks to Fran. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.